clock in Fraserburgh's old parish church has looked down on some memorable scenes in its 189 years. But Monday the 22nd of June 1992 was something very special. For the first time in history, the reigning monarch of the land was coming to visit the royal borough. And the reason? Because it was 400 years old. No wonder the people were singing the birthday song. A group of citizens had 4 years ago decided that the 400th anniversary was a real cause for celebration, and forming themselves into a committee, Fraserburgh 400 was born. One man, more than any other, epitomised the mood. He had strived for over a year to make it all happen, and as chairman, he had extended the invitation to the Queen and Prince Philip to attend. Henry Duffy could be a very proud man this day. The smiling Queen and the Duke took their places on the platform. They were accompanied by the Lord Lieutenant, Captain Facherson and his wife, with Henry Duffy, Fraserburgh 400 chairman, doing a sport of stewarding to get everyone into their rightful places. Also present were Mr. Ian Lang, Secretary of State for Scotland, the first chairman of Fraserburgh 400, Mr. Douglas Ritchie and his wife, Bampenbachen's convener, Mr. Bill Cruikshank and his wife, the Queen's Lady-in-Waiting, the Countess of Airlie, and Lady Sultan and Captain Ramsay, the Queen's second cousin. Fraserburgh was well and truly honoured.
When the Dolphin became a ruin, it was transferred into the Language School in 1787.
peasants are wonderful to look at, particularly if one's own child is participating. But a royal walkabout is unique. It creates its own excitement, particularly when the royal couple are so obviously enjoying themselves. National Lifeboat Institution, to give it its full name, born of necessity by Sir William Hillary in 1824, and has always been a worthy cause, deserving of royal patronage. It's a voluntary organisation, and Fraserburgh, the first lifeboat station in Scotland, has made an enormous contribution to the service. No one will forget the 3 lifeboat disasters that shocked the people of the time. The current president of the RNLI is the Duke of Kent, and it was fitting that his cousin the Queen should visit the Fraserburgh station. Many women have been involved in rescuing men from the sea. As most people already know, Grace Darling is the most famous heroine. But the Buchan coast has its own epic story of Jane White of New Aberdour, who rescued 15 men on a wild, stormy 1884 night from the wreck of the William Hope. Today, the voluntary work of the ladies in the RNLI is often unheralded, but their local fundraising activities are vital because the service is expensive to maintain, as Jack Probin, the local secretary, explained.
Our local Ladies Lifeboat Guild raise in the region of £10,000 each year by sales of work, fashion shows, bridge drives, afternoon teas, house-to-house collections, etc. And we are grateful to them for keeping the lifeboats afloat and equipped to the highest standards. The National Police Appeal is represented here today by the cheque for £300,000 handed to Her Majesty by the Chief Constable to provide a new Mersey-class lifeboat.
When the boat is safely launched into the basin, there is still work to be done before she can leave the safety of the harbour for the open sea. Radar reflectors and the complex electronic communication system with attendant masts have all to be erected and firmly in place before the boat is fully operational. The daring and often spectacular rescues of the RNLI hit the headlines, and deservedly so. But just as important to the fishing fraternity in Fraserburgh is the fisherman's mission. Serves the community well, not only in time of disaster, but on a day-to-day basis. And this was recognised by the Queen, who met in its memorial room the widows of Broch men who had been lost at sea.
Here in the Fisherman's Memorial Room, the names of 150 men who lost their lives at sea, either as fishermen, lifeboatmen, merchant navy, royal navy, and offshore oil workers are recorded on plaques and in the Book of Remembrance. For the families, this is their place. And the mission's work over the years has been to care for them not only at the time of tragedy, but also in the years that follow. Much of that work is done quietly and confidentially in the background, but we're always here to help all fishermen and their families.
Find out what happened to the wee boy.
For many years, the slipways have been perfectly adequate for winching the boats in and out of the water, but for the larger vessels in service, something more able to cope was required. The new dry dock will be a great asset to the port. Its design incorporates many modern innovations with hydraulic supports controlled with handheld electronic controls. John Wallace, the Harbour Commissioner, had the pleasurable task of welcoming the guests.
Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm greatly privileged today to welcome on behalf of the Fraserburgh Harbour Commissioners to Fraserburgh Harbour Her Majesty the Queen and His Royal Highness Prince Philip. This is indeed an historic day for all of us in the North East. Not only do we celebrate a royal visit to commemorate our town's birthday, but we gather to witness the official opening of the Queen Elizabeth Dry Dock in Balaclava Deepening. 400 years ago, this basin was a rocky headland where no ship could seek refuge, and passing trade remained simply that. Alexander Fraser and his sons sought to change the status quo, and successive generations of leaders have brought us here today. Only last year this site was out of bounds to all but our smallest friends, having only 6 feet of water in it and recovering very little revenue. It was 4 years ago that a special meeting of the Commissioners was convened to identify those areas in harbour in need of greatest attention. We deepened other basins, built the most modern fish markets in the country, installed a hydraulic storm protection system, and then turned our attention to this project. The basin is now a minimum of 21 feet at all times, and this will open up a whole new dimension to the pelagic sector, and prospects of a large pierside factory providing jobs and revenue are now no longer a distant dream. Fraserburgh has always been a leader in the fishing industry, And with this facility, those fishermen who prosecute our waters in these uncertain times will be given a clear signal of the direction and the commitment to the future that this port intends to pursue. The 216-foot dry dock will accommodate the largest UK-based burstnet vessel, of which Fraserburgh boasts home to over half the fleet. With such a large share of the pelagic vessels, it is quite clear to see that the demand for such a facility and the ability to keep them in Fraserburgh in top-class condition is self-evident. And now it is with great pleasure that I ask Her Majesty the Queen to officially open the Queen Elizabeth Dry Dock in Balaclava at evening. Ladies and gentlemen.
Meanwhile, back at the Dalrymple Hall, Davy MacDonald was conducting the junior choir through its repertoire whilst waiting in the royal pair. But on the most appropriate line, they were interrupted by the RAF Nimrod flypast. The Duke noticed something on the pavement and pointed it out. Perhaps the royal car had stopped in a double yellow line. A representative gathering of the Broch's youth organisations were lined up. Boys and Girls Brigade, Scouts and Guides. The Duke wasn't long in singling out those who had won his special award badges and inquiring what the lads and lasses had accomplished to earn them. To gain a Duke of Edinburgh's award, The youngster has to give of his or her personal best, albeit in an expedition, a personal challenge, or community work. Anything really that will test the character of the individual.
Union Jack pants.
On display in the foyer of the main hall was a magnificent piece of work.
The tapestry has been a year in the making, and its architects were Eva Tosh, Billy Watson and Vida Bichen. After much experimenting and debate, they settled on the content of the final wall covering. The outline was drawn on paper, then the Crystal Gallery printed it onto canvas. Each one of the component pictures was hand-painted in colour onto the canvas, and the participants chose their own particular project to work on in their own home. "80 contributors worked and created the 90 tapestries, which were then joined together, and the ages of the team ranged from 8 to 80. It was a true community effort. Men and women, boys and girls, the housebound, children with special needs, the disabled, schools and guilds, all have contributed to make these beautiful pictures. The daunting task of stitching the pictures together was only completed 2 weeks before the royal visit, and some of the material made for the Queen's coronation 40 years ago was given by one of the contributors to help frame the individual tapestries in the overall composition. The end result, as the Queen said, was a beautiful piece of work of which all involved could be very proud. Every year, the Fraserburgh Arts Group hold their Arts and Crafts exhibition, and what better time to stage it than at that of the royal visit. Here in the Dalrymple Hall, that serves the town so well, many beautiful creations were on display. As well as lovingly made models of fishing boats, there was a traditional fisherman's kist to be filled with artifacts of our time, to be opened 100 years from now. The Queen's interests in needlework and design are well known, and she must have gained great pleasure in viewing the work of Christine Watt, one of the borough's most celebrated ladies. In spite of the hard and arduous life that was the lot of fisherwomen, creativity found time and circumstance to flourish. Christian was born and brought up in Broadsea, a scale model of which has been accurately constructed by art teachers Mary West and Billy Watson. The Duke, possibly not as interested as the Queen in needlework, inquired at length about the model. Situated to the west end of the borough, it's a perfect example of how fishing villages were laid out early in the century. Here there was no harbour, and the women, after baiting the hook at 4 in the morning, carried their men piggyback to the boats so their feet remained dry as long as possible. The junior choir were eager for the reappearance of Her Majesty and Prince Philip. They had a brand new, specially composed song to sing to them.
Salute,
As the piper heralded lunch at the station hotel, there was more than a starter of local seafood platter, locally produced beef and summer fruit pudding in the menu. Waiting inside was a beautiful handcrafted gift of a wine table with a hand-painted tartan top. The oak table, a magnificent example of the cabinet maker's skill, was a personal gift from Pat Forsyth. To celebrate the visit, college instructor Matt Innes and his class had baked a 30-pound cake, resplendent with a new borough coat of arms for the occasion. And there was also the leather-bound copy of the Charter, to remind Her Majesty and His Royal Highness of the wonderful and memorable day that they and the people of Fraserburgh had enjoyed together.
Well, there they are. They're away. What a great day. I'm going to be a broker.